In August of 2019, Chris Watts would shock the entire world by brutally murdering his pregnant wife and his 2 daughters, initially going on live television and pleading for his wife and daughter's safe return. His facade would very quickly crumble, revealing the true evil. And today we are going to dive into all the details of what seemed like a perfect family that would be torn apart by the unimaginable betrayal of their own husband and father.
Chris Watts and his wife Shanann on their wedding day.
Stand by you.
And stand by you.
As long as we both shall live.
As long as we both shall live.
Watts hugging and kissing his daughters at the airport.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. I hope you're all doing so well. Welcome back to another true crime and makeup episode. Oh yeah! Today I am finally covering this super highly requested video that I have honestly put off for the longest time, like since I started this channel. Because from day one, I have received requests to cover the case of Chris Watts. I know. I hate him as well. I honestly didn't really want to speak about him, but it was so highly requested, I felt that I needed to honour you guys. And as much as I hate the guy and don't want to talk about him, it did seem like a good time to talk about the case now that we have all the facts, all the information, the interviews, news reports, all that jazz. And of course, before we jump into the case today, if you are new here, hi, my name's Anna. I am a certified yapper, and one day I decided I'm going to hop on the internet, yap about true crime, find a community of people like myself who are interested in the same thing, and I think I found you. So if true crime is your jam, I highly suggest that you subscribe, get the notification bell on so you don't miss when I upload, which is every single week on a Wednesday and Sunday. And of course, if you are a regular here, you already know the drill. Get down in the likes, get down in the comments. Please do whatever you can to help boost me in the algorithm, because recently my videos are being censored, which is really annoying because I'm covering important cases that people are not getting to see. So please make sure you interact with this video in some way. I'm begging, please. All the details you need regarding me, myself and I, case suggestion forms, social media handles, products used on my face today, it will all be listed down below in the description for you. But without any further rambling and any further ado, let's get into the horrifying, horrific case of Chris Watts. So America's biggest scumbag, he was born on May the 16th of 1985 in Spring Lake of North Carolina, and honestly seemed that he was born into a very box standard normal family. He was born to his parents Ronnie Watts and Cindy Watts, and he also has a sister by the name of Jamie Lynn Williams. Now, when people were asked about Chris, they did describe him as being a very normal child. He was quite shy and quiet, but he was well liked amongst his peers, or, you know, at least that's what people say. Can't imagine anyone liking him because he thinks he's God's gift. I don't know what mirror he looks into, but it must be magic. But it was said that Chris got along with people very easily. He was never one to get into like any fights or any dramas. He very much kept to himself and just wanted to get along with people. People said that Chris was known as someone who was kind and who did not have a violent bone in their body, which I'm finding really hard to believe. Chris was really into sports as a child. See if I sound so disinterested by his childhood, it's because I am. Like, I know I always do a bit of background, but like talking about this guy just chars my soul. It really steams my clams. Like, I don't care about his childhood. I don't care about him. But you guys requested it, so I'm giving you it. But I don't really want to discuss this guy. But anyway, so he plays sports from around the age of 5 up until he was 17. He was all right at sports. He never really thrived in it, but he played baseball, football and basketball. But you know, it was no Michael Jordan, it was simply hobbies to pass the time. Chris then went on to attend Pine Forest High School, and I mean, listen, he was no Albert Einstein. He's not going to solve the world's problems. as we know, but he got good enough grades to get by, I suppose. So after school, Chris would find himself working in the oil industry, and he would go to work at Anadarko Petroleum. Anadarko? Sounds like a movie. Donnie Darko? Is that the movie? But he would work as an operator here, and he seemed to really thrive in his position, and he was described as being a very dedicated hard worker. Good for him. So time goes on, and Chris is living a very boring, mundane, normal life, which there is nothing wrong with. You know, if you like a boring life, that's your preference. I quite like a boring life myself, but this guy is just so vanilla. So vanilla. Like, I could not imagine having to sit down and speak to this guy for longer than 30 seconds because yawn, I'm bored. Like, I've genuinely seen more personality in a half-drawn cartoon than I have in Chris Watts. So, like many of us back in the day, or, you know, some people still really like Facebook, but back in the day, Chris was all about Facebook. He loved it, like a wee Facebook status, you know, poking people. That was his jam. So one day he's updating his status, he's browsing through the personals, and in the suggested friends area, a woman pings up that really catches his eye. And this woman was none other than Shanann Rizichik. And as flirting goes back in the Facebook day, back in the golden age of Facebook, Chris adds her on Facebook. Now, Shanann, she was a bit hesitant at first when Chris had added her because, you know, she doesn't know who this guy is. It's a random ad, but most of my Facebook friends back in the day were random ads, and I had like 5,000 Facebook friends and I knew roughly 200. So Shanann, she's kind of gone back and forth, like, do I accept this guy? I don't know this guy. Would it be within my best interest? Do I want him on my Facebook? But ultimately, Shanann decides, you know, it's harmless. I will accept this guy and, you know, view his status, I suppose. And Chris, he gets the little like ding, friend request accepted. Shanann Rizichik is now your friend on Facebook, and he was buzzing. So again, as far as Facebook flirting would go in the golden age, Chris went ahead and he pokes her. You know, pokes her. That's the way to get people's attention on Facebook. You poke them. And it's like a flirty tactic, like, oh, he pokes me on Facebook. Honestly, if you ever run out a good chat and you want to talk to someone, just poke them on Facebook. And if they poke you back, get the conversation started. So they're poking each other, do, back and forth. And then they start messaging each other. And from here is where the relationship would really begin to flourish. So who is Shanann Rizichik? Well, Shanann, she was born on January 10th of 1984, and she was born in North Carolina. Now, Shanann and her family, they faced a lot of hardship. There was a lot of financial difficulties. And what made it even worse for Shanann is she really suffered with her health. She had various health conditions. The worst one that she had to deal with was lupus. This really changed how she could and would navigate her daily life. But Shanann was incredibly open regarding her diagnosis. She wanted to be someone that other people could relate to, that other people with the same condition could find comfort in and a bit of inspiration, because this was a woman fighting this awful condition, but still adamant that she was going to live her best life. She wanted to document this for people to show that even with this condition, you can still have the life that you dream of. And this is exactly what she would do. And in case you don't know what lupus is, I'm going to give a very high level overview of lupus. If you want to give any more details in the comments, please do, because I'm just pulling this from the internet and from things that I've seen online regarding lupus. But lupus is an autoimmune disease, and this is where the body's immune system mistakenly starts to attack organs and tissue within the body. So this can cause joint and muscle pain, extreme fatigue, skin rashes, hair loss, fever, like things that really would get in the way of your everyday life. Now, Shanann, she worked multiple jobs. So she would work in retail, she would work in the medical field, she would often do really long hours, and not only that, but when there was holidays, she would take up shifts on the holidays because, as you know, you get a bit extra pay when it's the holidays, and she wanted as much money as she could possibly get because she was adamant that her future wouldn't be like her childhood. when it came to finances. So Shanann had previously been married to a man by the name of Leonard King. He was a successful attorney, however things just didn't work out between the two and they decided to divorce in 2009. Now after this divorce with Leonard King, Shanann at the age of 25, she was able to buy herself her very first home, which was such a huge accomplishment for her, of course. And whilst this should have been such a happy, content time in her life, it was a time faced with so many challenges, especially when it came to her health. She wound up being quite isolated because she was losing friends who just didn't understand or didn't even take the time to try and understand her condition and why she couldn't always do everything they wanted to. So Shanann, she does become quite lonely, she does become quite isolated, and she's just wanting to make something of her life. And it was during this time, this period of loneliness and isolation, when Chris added her on Facebook. Now, when the pair get talking, Shanann feels like she can really open up to Chris. She talks to him about her condition, about her lupus, how it affects her life, what issues it's caused her so far, how she's lost friends and can't maintain relationships. And surprisingly to Shanann, this guy just seems to get it. This guy offers support and understanding. He offers her a shoulder to cry on and an ear that will listen, something Shanann wasn't used to having. Now, because Shanann felt like she could really open up and trust Chris, the pair, their relationship, it starts to blossom really quick. They go from Facebook messages to texting to phone calls. And before you know it, in November of 2012, the couple are married and they move to Frederick, Colorado. And this is where their happy life should begin and continue. And at this point, everything seems so outwardly perfect, as it always does online. But as we know, online is very far from the truth most of the time. But outwardly, it looks pretty perfect. They are building their life together. They're even starting their own family. They would have their first daughter, Bella, and she was born in 2013, followed by their second daughter, Celeste, who was born in 2015. And these little girls, they were Shanann's world. She wanted to be the best mother that she could possibly be. And as we already know, Chris and Shanann, both of them love a bit of Facebook. They love updating their statuses, keeping their friends and family up to date on the things going on in their life. And it was really on Facebook where they would portray and keep up this image of the perfect happy family. And to outsiders looking in, they thought they had the perfect life. They had the perfect wife, the perfect husband, the perfect children. Not only that, they had this beautiful big house. It was just everybody's dream. But like I said, things on social media can be rigged to look a certain way, and devastatingly, things aren't always as they seem, and that was certainly the case for Chris and Shanann. Whilst they have this big, beautiful house, it was a mortgage of $450,000. That was mortgage payments of over $3,000 per month. I'm sorry, but unless you have like a great job, that's going to be really difficult to make ends meet to be able to pay your mortgage. So in 2015, the couple, they would actually file for bankruptcy. They just could not do it anymore. They were really struggling and they were able to make things improve over time. Shanann had actually gotten herself a job within an MLM company, you know, the multi-level marketing company, the pyramid schemes. Not ideal, right? Okay, we're not judging Shanann though. She got into that, she thrived in it, she would move up the ranks pretty quickly, and she was really passionate about the work that she was doing alongside the company Lavelle. But as good as Shanann was at her job, they would of course still struggle. So Shanann's love for Facebook and her love for updating her social statuses and things like that, it actually came in handy for her while she was working with Lavelle. She was working under Lavelle and she was promoting this range called Thrive. And Thrive was supplements, shakes, and also skin patches that had been created and designed to promote better well-being and health, wealth, all that jazz. So this is what she's promoting, and she promotes it well. So she would go on Facebook Live, she would talk about the products, she would showcase the products, talk about her experiences with them. Not only that, but she would have customer reviews that she would discuss online. But because of the direction that she wanted her career to take, she wanted people to be able to relate to her. You know, she's a working mum, she's got children at home, she's got her husband. She's very much this family figure. So she would have her daughters on Facebook. She would have Chris on Facebook, who, by the way, is the most awkward, vanilla, drywall guy you'll ever see. Like I said, no personality. I would have a better conversation with a brick wall than Chris Watts. Now, what she would also do on Facebook is promote success stories, and in particular her own within the company. Like I said, Shanann's good at her job. She has a way with people and has a way of convincing people to purchase products or join the scheme. And she had done so well for herself moving up the ranks that she got herself a company car, a Lexus, which is a Lexus quite fancy? I think Lexus sounds like a fancy name. I'm going to say it's fancy. So she shows it off and is like, look what I've achieved. Like, you can achieve this if you join the pyramid. You know, not great, but yeah. So like I said, she has her daughters and her husband on her Facebook Lives, and not only this, but she's posting statuses and photos, sharing updates about the girls, how she's such a proud mum, how she's a proud wife. So June of 2018 rolls around, and Shanann, as she always did, she liked to document the special moments between her, Chris, and her daughters. So she decides that she's going to go on Facebook Live, she's going to record, and she is going to get Chrissy's reaction to her telling him that she's pregnant with their third child. So it's June 2018. Shanann, she sets up the camera. She's getting really excited to tell Chris. Mr. Vanilla Bean walks in the room, right? Shanann's wearing a top and it says, "Oops, we did it again." So Chris like saunters in, got his glasses on, thinks he's like king, right? He's not. But he walks in and he's like, "Oops, we did it again." I love that shirt. And then he like walks over to Shanann and he's like, "This is awesome." Like, so fake. The guy has absolutely no excitement, or maybe he just has some like really strong Botox. I don't know. But if I was Shanann, I would be gravely disappointed with that reaction because it looked like dread. It looked like dread on his face, but he almost knew he was on camera. So he's like, "This is awesome." The whole thing is just really weird. I will insert it so you can watch it. But it's just strange.
We did it again. I like that shirt. Really?
Really?
That's awesome. So pink means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome.
And in my opinion, as we'll find out as I go further through this case, I believe that this was kind of interfering with Chrissy's plans, certain plans that he had, and I think he was feeling trapped because Shanann was pregnant again, but we're going to get into that. Shanann, as always, she is doing everything she possibly can to make Chris feel happy, to make Chris feel loved and supported, but Chris was never ever offering this in return to Shanann. It was all about him. Shanann was someone who gave affection very easily to the people that she loved, and everything with Chris, it felt like he was putting on a show, like he had to do it. He didn't actually want to do it. He felt like he had to. Things are a bit strange between the couple, and the same month that Shanann announced her pregnancy, she decided to take a 6-week trip to North Carolina with Bella and Celeste to go and visit her parents. So that would give Chris some time by himself, and also her some time to herself to try and clear her mind and just be with her family. But it would be during this time where a lot of very significant changes would take place in this relationship. So Shanann, while she's away, she's still posting nice messages about her husband. She's texting him a lot, telling him how much she loves her, how she can't wait to see him, blah, blah, blah. And Chris is not given very much in return. Chris is actually trying to text her as little as possible, and the only time he'll really text back is when Shanann questions the relationship, questions if he's happy, questions what's going on. And what Shanann wouldn't know at this moment in time is that changes were taking place in the relationship, because Chris had found himself a new woman, a co-worker at Anadarko Petroleum by the name of Nicole Kessinger. Kessinger, I don't know. And Chris had apparently told this Nicole Kessinger, maybe, I don't know her name, but he had apparently told her that he was in the middle of separating from his wife, that they were very much not together, and he was working on getting a divorce. Did he tell her that? I don't know, because it doesn't come off completely innocent to me. So instead of answering Shanann's messages and her calls and texts whilst she's away in North Carolina, Chris was too busy doing something else. What was he doing, I hear you ask? He was busy taking Nicole Kessinger out on dates. Something he didn't do very much for Shanann. At this point, Chris is spending all of his time with Nicole. He has very limited contact with his own wife. And when Shanann voices her concerns, that you don't seem like you want this anymore, something's changed, it seems like you feel differently, Chris would then swoop back in, saying all the right things, confirming his love, convincing Shanann that they would be together forever. Instead of just coming clean, this asshole just couldn't come clean and tell the truth and deal with it. Now, Shanann, she actually voices her worries to her friends. She feels like she's not getting the truth out of Chris. So she's telling her friends that Chris has barely touched her, he's not kissed her, he barely speaks to her, and the only time that he really does speak to her is when she questions their relationship. She's concerned, what's going on with her husband? And you know what I find really, really sad? I mean, this whole case is devastating, but while Shanann's away and she feels like things aren't quite right with Chris, she's Googling couples counselling, couples therapy, how to work on a marriage. And Chris is Googling how to tell someone you love them for the first time. What does it feel like when you tell someone you love them? And then Nicole Kessinger, the mistress, she's Googling, the man I'm having an affair with said he would leave his wife for me. Also, how to prepare for anal sex. And she was also watching a lot of porn in this time. Double penetration porn, one in the back, one in the front, that jazz. If that's your vibe, that's absolutely fine. 2 consenting adults can do whatever the hell they want. No judgment here. But it's just a stark difference to the things that Shanann is Googling, trying to save her marriage. And these two are up to God knows what. So in July of 2018, Shanann's still out visiting her mum and dad, and Chris decides at this point, I should probably go out and join her, keep up appearances. But the minute Chris gets to North Carolina, he might as well not even be there, because he's acting shady, he's acting quiet, he's acting distant. He is making Shanann question herself. And Shanann knew from the very moment he got there that something was wrong, something wasn't right, the marriage was in trouble. And within this short space of time, this couple, they were arguing more than they ever had in all their years of marriage. Shanann mentioned going to couples counselling, couples therapy, and Chris downright refused. And it's at this point that Shanann's realising that the man that she loves maybe doesn't love her the way he used to, or maybe he never has, because she was willing to do anything to save this marriage, and this idiot was not. So Shanann again, she reaches out to her friends, she expresses her concerns regarding Chris, and at this point now, she tells her friends that she believes that Chris is cheating on her. She says to them that their relationship is not the same anymore, and neither is Chris. Chris has completely changed. He's done a full 360. He is honestly unrecognisable to Shanann at this point. So by August of 2018, things had really started to crumble between Shanann and Chris. Shanann was opening up to her friends even more. She told them that Chris told her he wants a divorce, he no longer wants to be with her. He told Shanann that he doesn't even want to try and make the marriage work, and that he was scared to death of having a third child, and that he didn't want the third child, like we were saying earlier, you know, feeling trapped. Even though he doesn't have to be trapped. He really doesn't. He could just say, Shanann, this is not what I want. I know that's my child. You know, maybe I'll be in his life, or maybe I won't be because I can't be bothered. They'd be better off without him anyway. But he doesn't even have the decency to do that. And this child, this unborn child that he's so scared to death of and doesn't want, why in the hell did he agree that he wanted to call the child Nico, their baby boy? It's just cruel to make plans with no intention. So Shanann is still confiding in her friends, as she should, and she is telling them that Chris is just so cold toward her. And it's not even just emotionally cold, he's physically cold. It's like he's repulsed by her. So on August the 9th of 2018, Shanann, she was leaving for a work trip to Arizona, and she was going there with one of her best friends and colleagues, Nicole Atkinson. Not Nicole Kessinger, she's the mistress, Nicole Atkinson is a friend. Now, she had drafted a letter to Chris, and this letter to him was explaining how much she loved him, how much she loved their marriage, the life that they had built together, the fact that when she was away, she missed him so much and couldn't wait to get back to see him. And again, it's heartbreaking because whilst this woman is writing these letters in the hopes of sparking that again for her husband, Chris Watts did not give a tiny rat's ass about his marriage, about Shanann, or about his 3 children. Because when Shanann was away, Chris immediately hires a babysitter for God knows how long, and he's taken Nicole Kessinger out on multiple dates. That is all he cared about. When Shanann left, he seen that as the opportunity to be with Nicole. So time goes by on the trip, and then it is August the 13th of 2018, and Shanann is dropped back home by her colleague Nicole Atkinson around 1:48 a.m. 1:48 a.m. Sorry. Sometimes like my Scottish accent just really interferes, so I thought I'd clear that up. Now, Shanann's friend Nicole, she wasn't worried for Shanann, but she was concerned for her because Shanann's pregnant. She's got a lot on her mind. Her marriage is falling apart. Shanann's confided in Nicole, telling her everything that's going on. And so Nicole just wanted to check in on her to make sure that her friend was okay. So later that day, on August the 13th, Shanann, she was meant to go to her OBGYN. She misses that appointment, which is very alarming. Shanann would never miss an appointment, especially when it's something to do with her unborn child. And not only that, but she wasn't replying to Nicole Atkinson's messages and calls. Very strange because they texted constantly. And Nicole knew Shanann so well that her instincts immediately kicked in, and she felt like something was wrong here. Something's not right. This is strange behaviour for Shanann, and I need to make sure that my best friend is okay. So Nicole, she heads over to Shanann and Chrissy's home. She knocks the door, she rings the doorbell, she's even looking in the windows. There's no answer and she can't see anyone. Immediately, again, Nicole has this horrible feeling in the pit of her stomach. So she calls Chris, and then she would call the Frederick Police Department. When she's on the phone to the police department, she expresses her concerns. She says that Shanann's pregnant, she's been going through a difficult time, she's missed her appointment, she's not answering her calls and texts. Could they please just do a welfare check for her? So around 1:40 p.m, an FDP police officer by the name of Scott Coonrod, he arrives at the Watts home. Now, he sort of does what Nicole Atkinson was doing. He's knocking on the doors, he's looking through the windows, he's ringing the bell. Again, there's no answer, and he can't see anyone. Now, shortly after the police had arrived, is when Chris Watts would magically arrive back home. So he greets the police officer, he's going over like shaking the hand, you know, like acting. You can tell that he's acting. He is acting normal, but it's very much acting and he does not seem normal. But he allows the police officer into the house. So the police officer, he is in the home. He starts looking through sort of the individual rooms. And Chris Watts, he is talkative. He's like over-explaining. Now, as the officer is looking through the house, he very quickly notes that there is no sign of forced entry, there's no sign of a struggle. So, you know, he's kind of struggling to work out what exactly has happened here. So while searching the house, the police officer is able to locate Shanann's purse, her phone, her keys. Her car is still in the garage, and it actually has the two girls' car seats in the car. Now, if Shanann was going anywhere with the girls, she would take the car seats, but they're still there. Shanann's not, and the girls are also not there. So the officer, he goes into the master bedroom. He's wanting to have a look in there, see if there's anything that looks a bit strange. He quickly notices that the bed has been completely stripped of its covers and its sheets, and they're lying balled up on the floor. Why? Chris is like, I don't know, I'm not sure. Now, Shanann's wedding ring was also found in the bedroom on the nightstand. You know, it's kind of looking like maybe she up and left. Like she couldn't be bothered anymore, she took off the ring, storms out the house. But why on earth would she take the kids, but not take her car and their car seats? Or her purse, her car keys, everything. So everything's just seeming a bit strange. Chris is starting to look like the concerned husband, or, you know, he's acting like the concerned husband, but he's not acting it very well. So Chris and the police officer, they go to Chrissy's next door neighbour, Nate Trina Stitch, and they're asking if they could have a look over his surveillance footage. You know, he has CCTV on his house. So Nate says, yeah, of course, come in, we'll have a look. He starts to go through the CCTV footage, and captured on this footage is Chris loading up his work truck around 5 a.m, which is really early for Chris. Now, Chrissy's neighbour is an absolute saint in this case because he did not hide his concerns from the police. He actually told the police that Chris was being really talkative, he was really fidgety, he was not acting at all how he normally would. The neighbour said that he was concerned about Chrissy's behaviour.
It just seems kind of odd to me. Why would he pull the truck up and over the garage?
Right.
Yeah, I've never seen him pull back. I've never seen him. If he loads his stuff, he normally just walks back and forth because I get him on camera.
What does he usually load up?
All he usually has is a lunchbox and a book bag, looks like a computer, and usually a water jug. That's it. But the fact that he was in here and explaining to it over and over and over,
Well, odd.
he doesn't look worried. He looks like he's trying to cover his tracks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if he's loading his stuff, why isn't he walking back and forth? But I can't see what he's doing in the back of the truck because he pulled into the garage. Yeah. But he knows my camera's there.
Any other neighbors have cameras around here, you know of?
I'm sure a bunch of them do, but not that I know of.
Okay.
You guys looking out?
Yeah, I'll look at it.
Yeah.
I'll do a search here in a minute.
All these Fords kept coming up missing, so we moved in here, I put this in. And like you said, someone was breaking into it. He said that someone was breaking into his toolboxes of his truck. So I told him he could park his truck out there in case they saw something. Diesel, I know you want to go play with the baby so bad.
Her mom was texted and said we did it before. She doesn't have a GPS tracker truck that says everywhere he goes.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Don't you think it's, look at those.
I know. I'm trying not to.
No, I'm just saying it's kind of odd that he pulls his truck back behind my camera. The cutoff, the truck's in the garage right now.
Yeah.
And he never backs his truck into the
That's
driveway.
what her friend Christina was saying.
Diesel.
Got enough. She's like, he never backs his truck up. Her mom said it too. She's like, he carries his stuff out in the house. He
Yep.
doesn't back his truck up.
Well, I have him on camera doing that when he does it. Because when he was parking his truck over here, the other thing was odd is while she was gone, He kept parking his truck and her car over here. And I used to see him walk out of his house right here.
He took the car out of the garage?
Oh, the car was parked over there for a long time, like a couple days.
This is past weekend?
No.
It was when she was gone for the 6 weeks.
Oh,
But I thought it was kind of odd that he never parked in front of here or right here. He said someone broke into his truck and he parked over here. I have no idea. Hey, he's acting so suspicious. He's normally, you can ask them, he's normally quiet, real subdued. He's over here telling you 3 times what he took out, what he did, what he did, what he did. He's very, he never talks. So the fact that he's over here blabbing his mouth makes me kind of suspicious of something.
yeah, but I mean, you put yourself in his situation.
Oh, I agree.
You know, anyone's going to be nervous. You don't know what to do.
No, I agree, but I'm just saying the way he told you 3 times what he brought with him, why is he telling you exactly what he brought with him instead of saying, oh, they didn't see anybody out here, he didn't see anybody doing anything? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Why is he so worried about you knowing what he's carrying out? That's all I'm saying.
And the way that Chris was, talking so much and so quickly, it seemed like he was trying to distract from something by, constantly grabbing the officer's attention. And this behaviour did arouse suspicion with the officer as well, especially because the neighbour had brought it to their attention. Now, Nate, the neighbour, he also reveals to the police that Chrissy's truck being backed up into the garage the way it was in the CCTV, that wasn't normal. It would be very, very, very rare that Chrissy's truck would be backed all the way up. Now, the reason for this is because when Chrissy's truck was backed up into the garage, it leaked oil everywhere and Shanann hated this. It was hard to clean up. She didn't want the girls to slip and trip in it. So Chris would either keep it further down the drive or parked on the street. This was weird. Police, they're asking Chris, when was the last time you seen Shanann and your daughters? Do you have any idea where she might have took them, where they could have went? Chris is like, no, I have no idea. I seen Shanann early this morning before I left for work, but haven't heard from her since. So the police are asking, was there anything weird and anything that we should note before Shanann disappeared? And Chris tells them, early that morning we actually had a very emotional conversation, 5 a.m, about us separating. Chris then says that Shanann had mentioned about taking the girls over to a friend's house, taking some time to cool off, discuss things with her friend and, gain some perspective on the situation. Chris then says that he's tried to call hospitals, he's tried to call hotels and friends, but he's not gathered any information. He does express to the police that he's feeling worried and concerned about his wife and children, but that he was hoping that his wife was just depressed and would return home soon. So August the 14th, 2018, Chris Watts, he thinks it's a great idea to speak to news outlets. Big mistake. Huge.
Big mistake. Big. Huge.
So these were local media outlets. We've got 9 News and also Denver 7. And in this press conference, he pleaded for his wife and daughter's safe returns. He, again, tries to act like he's this concerned, grieving husband who's so stricken with worry. But this does not come across, and in fact, this sparked suspicion within everyone. Locals, people who've seen the news, they all believed he was hiding something because his acting was so bad.
Everybody's like they're doing their best right now to figure out like if they can get a scent, see where they went. If they went on foot, they went in a car, or they went somewhere. And right now it's just like they've been on point. They're going through the house trying to get a scent, and hopefully they can pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened? Your wife came home. Tell me what's.
She came home from the airport 2 a.m. and I left around 5:15. She was still here, and like about 12:10 in that afternoon, her friend Nicole showed up at the door. Like I had texted Shanann a few times that day, called her, say, but she never got back to me.
She came back Sunday. You said at 2 at night.
Yeah, because her flight got delayed from Arizona because of like other storms around the nation. So she's supposed to get home like 11. She got home at like 1:48. She got in bed about 2.
What was she going for? Like family trip or what?
It was a Thrive direct sales. It was a local event that was down there between a bunch of leaders in the company.
And that day she was back. I mean,
I left work early that morning, like 5:15, 5:30. So like she barely got into bed pretty much.
And this might be a tough question, but did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like somebody has to come forward.
You spoken to her family, like her parents?
Yeah, they've been in constant contact, like every hour.
My last question is, if your wife can see this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
That's it. I can take that mic off you.
So then August the 15th rolls around, and who contacts the police? None other than Nicole Kessinger. So she contacts the police and she says that she had witnessed the news. She had seen the conference held with Chris saying that he was concerned about his wife. And she said that this is when she realised that Chris had lied about the state of his marriage and the situation with his marriage. Nicole had stated that she was deeply concerned for Shanann's welfare as well as that of Bella, Celeste and their unborn child Nico. She said that she had been completely disturbed by the situation and felt as though it was her duty to come forward and give police as much detail as they needed, which seems like the really noble thing to do, but I just don't know how I feel about Nicole Kessinger. So Nicole, she comes forward, she gives the police as much detail as she can regarding their relationship. She said that the relationship had started within June of 2018. I can't remember if it was before or after Shanann had went to visit her parents in North Carolina, but it was around that time. Chris had, of course, told Nicole that he had separated from Shanann and that he didn't want to be with Shanann, he wanted to be with her. She gave the police their call records, their text messages. Now, this was quite helpful because it allowed police to establish a timeline on the lead up to the disappearances of Shanann, Bella and Celeste. And listen, Nicole, I find her a bit weird. I'm just saying it, I find her a bit weird. On August the 14th, she had some weird Google searches. Like, bearing in mind, this is the same day that Chris gives this press interview. She spends 2 hours Googling wedding dresses. When she's seen this alarming interview with Chris, she's Googling wedding dresses. Is that because she knows that Chris has taken care of the situation? I'm sorry, there's just something no right there. In my opinion, allegedly, as Stephanie Harlow would say, don't come for me. But I'm just saying, if the shoe fits, it might be worth putting on. And then after Chris is arrested, which I will come back to in just a second, she starts Googling Amber Fry. So she's Googling Amber Fry. Why did people hate Amber Fry? Do people hate Amber Fry? And in case you don't know, Amber Fry, she was a mistress of Scott Peterson. You know, Scott and Lacey Peterson who was murdered, Scott got blamed, the whole mistress thing in it. Well, Nicole Kessinger was Googling her as if she knew that she was the Amber Fry because the wife was dead. And I just find that so incredibly weird. August the 15th, police, the FBI, everyone, they are suspicious as hell of Chris. Something doesn't line up, he's acting weird, and they want to know what the hell has happened to Shanann and their children. So they decide that they are going to bring Chris Watson for a polygraph test, and this polygraph would be a series of direct and specific questions. Now, these questions were designed in a way that it would determine whether or not he was truthful about the knowledge of Shanann and his daughter's whereabouts. And it would also determine whether or not he was being truthful about the knowledge of their disappearances. I did list some of the key questions questions in my notes, so I'm going to go through them with you, just so I don't forget any specifics, right? So the first one we've got, did you physically harm Shanann in any way? Number 2, are you responsible for the disappearance of Shanann? Number 3, do you know where Shanann is now? Number 4, do you know where Bella and Celeste are right now? And number 5, are you lying about the last time you saw Shanann? Very good questions, whoever came up with these. These polygraph results, every single one had came back indicating clear signs of deception. He scored exceptionally low. Like he knew a lot more than what he was making out. So investigators, they confront him. They say, why have you failed this if you're telling us the truth? Why is there so much sign of deception? Tell us the truth. What do you know? And they prod him. They're doing further questioning, and Chris is getting a bit overwhelmed. And this is where he requests to speak with his father, Ronnie Watts. And this is where Chris Watts would crumble like a stale cookie. This man folded like a cheap suit. So Ronnie comes in the room. He's asking his son, just tell me the truth. Talk to me. Like, what happened that day? Have you done something to Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico? He said, and Chris that Watts Shanann had strangled their daughters, father that he killed Shanann BS in a complete fit of rage. Shanann did not do this, but Chris says he witnessed on the baby monitor as Shanann strangled his daughters. And because of this, he completely snapped and he decided to strangle her. Ronnie Watts, he was shocked and devastated with Chrissy's confession, but ultimately he's trying to remain as collected as he possibly can, and he comforts Chris, which I couldn't do it, but to each their own. He comforts Chris and he tells him, you need to admit this to the investigators. You need to tell them what happened, and if this is the truth, tell them what you've seen Shanann do.
Protect her. What? I don't want to protect her. You don't want to protect her? I don't know what else to say. What happened? Huh? She hurt him? Yeah. And then what now? I thought not her. You hurt her. Did they leave after that for a long time? So she started hurting the kids. Paper. How many you guys want to have? One. You smell it? Or choking? No. I didn't hear anything. And then when I was downstairs, they came back up and they were gone. I don't know, like me talking to her about that. I couldn't call the cops about it. So maybe when you do all the bodies off or something? I mean, I didn't know what else to do. I freaked out. I didn't know nothing else to do. I didn't know what to do.
So Chris, he then proceeds to tell the investigators a bit of the truth about what happened to Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. But it wasn't the whole truth, because he doesn't want to make himself look too bad. But let me tell you, the bit of truth that he does tell only makes him look like a monster, a complete evil scumbag monster, which he is. He tells the investigators that he strangled Shanann to death, killing her, killing baby Nico, and then he smothered Bella and Celeste to death. A 3 and 4-year-old who trusted their dad, who trusted him more than anything in the world, who thought he was their protector. He murdered his daughters. He also admitted to the investigators that he was having an affair with a co-worker and that he wanted to start a brand new life with her, and that Shanann and the children would not allow this to happen. which is honestly just the biggest load of BS I've ever heard, because people divorce every single day. They can start their new lives, they can have new families. Like, there's nothing stopping him. If that's what he wanted, he did not have to murder his wife and his children. So Chris told the investigators that on the morning of August the 13th, 2018, the day that Shanann and the children disappeared, they had had a very emotional conversation about separating, about getting a divorce. Chris said that Shanann then accused him of having an affair, of cheating on her, and then she had said to him, you know, get off of me, get away from me. And apparently because Shanann didn't want Chris anywhere near her, this is why he flees into the fit of rage and thinks it's okay to strangle her to death. Chris then said that once he had finished strangling Shanann to death and murdering her and baby Nico, that Bella and Celeste had woken up. They came through, they asked what was wrong. He then said that he smothered both his daughters. He put all three of their bodies in his truck. He then drove out to a work oil field that he had worked on, buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave, and then shoved his young daughter's bodies into oil tanks. Chris had also admitted that he felt trapped in his relationship with Shanann and that he did not want the third child, baby Nico. He said he wanted to be with Nicole. He felt more in control when he was with Nicole. So like, what, you can control Nicole easier? Is that what you're saying? Because Shanann didn't let you walk all over her? And he said that their relationship, his and Nicole's, apparently reminded him of his childhood. I'm a bit alarmed, to be honest. So Chris ultimately, he would be charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder of Shanann, Bella and Celeste. He was also charged with unlawful termination of a pregnancy regarding baby Nico. And then finally, he was also charged with 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. So then on November the 6th of 2018, Chris Watt, he would plead guilty to all charges as part of a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. Now, this plea deal had been reached with the agreement of Shanann's family because they could not deal or cope with the heartache of dragging this on any longer to get the death penalty for Chris. And not only that, but they were good people and they did not want Chrissy's death and execution on their hands. And furthermore, they could not wait years and years and years with Chris sitting there on death row waiting for this execution date to come. They needed closure and they needed it now. Then on November the 19th of 2018, Chris was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 84 years. This was the sentences he was handed. So he had 3 life sentences for the first-degree murder charges, 48 years for the unlawful termination of a pregnancy, 36 years for the 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. Devastatingly, as the years have gone on, as Chris has sat in prison, more details regarding the murders of Shanann, Bella, Celeste and Nico has been revealed. See, Chris had revealed a lot in a 2019 letter that he had written, and it would go into gruesome, graphic, evil details about what he truly did to his family. So Chris had stated that when he and Shanann had gotten into their fight after their emotional conversation, when Chris had confirmed that he was in fact cheating on Shanann, having an affair, and that he wanted the relationship to end, Shanann told him that's fine, but you will never see the kids ever again. This is apparently when he flew into this blind rage. Even though he didn't want his family, bear in mind, okay, but this is what he's saying, he then flew into a blind rage at the thought of not seeing his daughters again. So he strangled Shanann to death, murdering her and baby Nico. Chris was then using a bed sheet. Remember, the bed sheets had been stripped off the bed. Well, one of the bed sheets had been used to wrap up Shanann's body. Whilst he was doing this, 4-year-old Bella walked into that room and asked him, "What are you doing to Mummy?" Chris told this little girl that Mummy was ill and that Mummy had to go to the hospital and he was going to take her there. So he put Shanann's body in the truck. He then put Bella and Celeste in the back seat without their car seats and belted them in. Chris then drove 45 minutes to this oil field. During this journey, Bella was begging and pleading with her father to take Mummy to the hospital, to get Mummy help, but he ignored the pleas of his daughter. Arriving at the oil field, Chris had went into the back seat and smothered Celeste with her favourite blanket. as Bella watched in terror as her little sister was killed right in front of her. Bella had then pleaded for her life. She had begged her father not to kill her. She even unbelted herself at one point and she tries to run away from Chris, but Chris caught up to her, caught her, and then smothered her to death as well. Her last moments living in fear of her dad, the person that's meant to be her protector. Chris then, of course, buried Shanann and baby Nico in a shallow grave, and then he brutally forced Bella and Celeste's bodies into this oil tank. And the opening in this oil tank was not big. So they had to be shoved and rammed in, bending their bodies, bending their little bones in ways that I don't even want to think about. And it was revealed in this bombshell letter that Chris had written whilst he was in prison that Chris had actually attempted to cause Shanann to miscarry before the murders. He had slipped Shanann oxycodone in an attempt to kill their unborn child. He had also stated that he had tried to murder his daughters before he even murdered Shanann, but they woke up somehow. He said that his daughters' eyes looked bruised and that they looked like they had been through trauma, which of course they had because their dad tried to smother them and murder them in their sleep. Chris also stated that he had been planning to murder Shanann for weeks. He watched as her eyes filled with blood whilst he strangled her, and he knew that she was dead when she relieved herself. Chris Watts is currently serving his sentences at Dodge Correctional Center in Waupun, Wisconsin. He had actually been transferred there from Colorado because there was concerns regarding his safety. Boo-hoo. He spends 23 hours a day in his cell and he has barely any interaction with other inmates, which you'd think was a good thing. But actually, if we released him to the inmates, they would probably deal with Chris Watts in a way that I think we would all see fit. This monster apparently sleeps with photos of Shanann, Bella and Celeste in his cell, and at night he talks to them before he goes to sleep, and this disgusts me. These photos should absolutely be removed because he should never ever be allowed to see their faces again. Chris is apparently living every single day in fear because inmates have caught wind of what this monster did to his wife, his children and his unborn child, and they want to get their hands on him. Other inmates have threatened to kill him if they ever do get a hold of him. And honestly, they're out here doing God's work. I say leave a few cells unlocked at night, including Chrissy's and some of the bad guys in there, and tap at it, let loose, do whatever you want to this man. The thing is, if people in the prison don't get to him first, I am sure that this monster will burn and rot in hell, face the most horrendous end that he should. And I'm a very caring, empathetic person, but I hope this man's last minutes is spent in tremendous amounts of pain. Now, of course, before I close out this video, I do want to bring it right back round to the people who matter in this case, and that is Shanann, Celeste, Bella, and Nico. They were cherished and loved so deeply by family and by friends, and even though Nico hadn't been born yet, he was so highly anticipated by those around him. They couldn't wait to hold this little boy in their arms and love him forever. Shanann was a beautiful person with a beautiful soul. She was a devoted mother who would give her left arm to make sure her children were happy. Bella and Celeste, they were beautiful little girls whose life was just full of so much fun, love and curiosity. The tragic loss of this woman and her children has left such an impact not only on their family but in their communities as well. People genuinely have holes in their hearts since Shanann, Bella, Celeste and Nico were taken from this world. And I just hope that we all remember Shanann, Bella, Celeste and Nico, and that we honour their memory by remembering them being full of light and love. Please keep them in your hearts, please remember them, and please remember how important it is to be compassionate, be full of love, and please remember how precious life is. I am sending so much love and prayer to them, to their family, to their friends, and I just hope that they are resting peacefully now. But my loves, that is it for another true crime and makeup episode. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I just mean that I hope I was able to do Shanann, Bella, Celeste and Nico some justice, because this case is truly just so heartbreaking and devastating. If you do enjoy my content, please make sure you subscribe, get that notification bell on, because I'm here for you every single week and I always cover a case that you have recommended. It would really mean the world to me if you could please leave a like, leave a comment, share the video if you feel obliged, to really help push that YouTube algorithm. My channel was kind of censored after I done my James Bird Jr. video for some reason. It's really strange to me because it was such an important video. So I do kind of need your help rebuilding, if you don't mind. Any details you need today regarding me, myself and I, social media handles, my case suggestion document, or any details of products used on my face today, they can all be found listed down below in the description. You can leave your case suggestions in the comments if you would prefer, but I do have a case suggestion document that is listed, or you can always send me an email, DM me on Instagram, whatever you would prefer. But that is it for today. Please remember, be a good person. Do not be a bad person. Stay safe, look after each other, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!